and ideal answers. So again, I think the number 3, I hope you're jotting down notes. So right now, if you don't have a pen and paper, maybe it's a good idea to get that. If you're not a pen and paper kind of person and you prefer to put it on your phone or in a tablet or another device, as long as you're jotting down notes, it's going to be helpful. And this is being recorded anyway. But it's always just nice to have that note that is, you're putting a summary of what you understand about the presentation. Okay. Part 2 would be an introduction to the Las Vegas Valley Water District. We're going to talk about our mission and vision, introduction to the internship program, and current job openings. And then part 3 would be Q&A. So all the questions that you have in the chat box, we're going to be going over them today. Any questions that we couldn't answer, we'll make sure you provide an answer even after today's presentation. If we don't have enough time, we're going to do the same thing. And maybe you're wondering, okay, Maria, you're telling me the part 1, those are the only 3 things I need to do to prepare for an interview? Not really. There is going to be a lot more, but these are the 3 main things that I hope that you focus on as a starting point when preparing for a virtual interview. Okay? So this is a video that I think is very funny. We hope that you don't get offended by this, especially if I'm a millennial, so I should be offended, right? Because it makes fun of us a little bit. But the goal of this segment is, so we're going to be utilizing the chat box. So be ready to type, okay? If you were the interviewer in this particular video, okay, or this interview, what is an area for concern that you see with this particular interviewee? Again, if you were the interviewer, what area for concern do you see in this particular interviewee in this video? Type one answer in the chat box. And you can do that even while the video is happening. Because if you see something you want to type, and we're only asking one per student, and make it brief. Okay, ready? Be playing the video now.
Amy, it says you are trained in technology. That's very good. Are you adept at Excel?
No.
PowerPoint?
No.
Publisher?
Not really.
Exactly in what area of technology are you proficient?
Snapchat, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Twitter. You know, the big ones.
I'm surprised you didn't say Facebook.
That's for old people, like my parents. That's funny.
Well, Amy, when you're working for me, you have to have those kind of research skills because I'll send you things for you to comb through and get the answers and send them to me. So for that, you got to be really good at technology.
For stuff like that, no problem. I'll just ask Siri.
You'll just ask Siri?
You know, Siri, tell me this, Siri, find me that. We're all good at getting you the answers.
Tell Siri, I want you ready to go at 8 sharp each and every morning.
I don't understand.
What don't you understand?
What you just said.
You don't understand be ready to go?
No. You said 8, right?
Yes.
8, like in the morning, 8?
Yes, in the morning.
Yeah. That kind of doesn't work for me. Who gets up at 8?
I do.
I Skype with my French boyfriend in Paris until like 3 in the morning. I don't even get to Starbucks until like 10, where I order my grande chai tea latte, 3 pumps, skim milk, light water, 2% foam, extra hot, but not too hot. So if it's okay, I work best in the morning at 10:45.
Wow. Amy, I don't think we're going to be a good fit.
Why are you so negative? I can sense your hostilities, and right now I am not feeling very safe. I've been here for over 5 minutes, and the only nice thing you have said to me was nice resume, which I typed all night for this meeting with you. You've given me no guidance, no validation, no encouragement, no supervision. Is there an HR director somewhere?
HR director?
Yes, I need to speak to someone. I may have to take off today as a mental health day.
Take the day off. Amy, look at me. You don't work here.
Are you firing me?
Okay, yes.
Okay, well, I know it's a little funny and exaggerated, but I love what I'm seeing in the chat box. So when I'm looking at the chat box, I'm not looking at the camera, so I apologize for that. Let's take a look at what you all have said. So let's see here. I want to say shout out first to Philip Canizo. Yes, I remember you. So great job in your interview before. So I see here addicted to phone. That's a huge problem. One of the things that is very important to note is an interview is a professional environment. Even if you're interviewing for Apple, unless there is a reason for you to use your phone and showing how to create apps, for example, then there's no reason for you to be on your phone while you're in interviewing and like texting someone. Number one thing is respect. Very important to respect the person in front of you doing the interview, right? So great job, Anson. Angel said, attitude is not the best. I love that. Okay, I'm going to talk about personal brand later when it comes to interviewing. And the attitude is what affects your personal brand when you're interviewing. So I love that answer. And then not making direct eye contact during the interview. That's what Stanley said. You know why? Because she's looking at her phone. So she doesn't have time to look and have an eye contact with the person that you're talking to. So even right now, I said to you, sorry, when I'm looking at the chat box, I don't see the camera and I'm not looking into the camera because I respect you all. Even though I'm giving a presentation, you might be on the other side so of the internet, right? But I need to give you respect like I'm talking to you. So I'm going to look directly at, in the camera. Okay. Let's see other things here. Answering questions with single words. There, what's weird about the conversation was she has single word answers for the things that count, but she was very verbose with the things that don't count, right? So good one. And then I see here passive aggressive comment. Yeah, so it all boils down to respect. So good job, Ethan. And then Sammy said she was not actively engaged in conversation, no connection. Yes, you can't make a connection when you're not listening, right? Do you think she was listening? No. She had an answer before he even asked a question, and the answer was a little snarky, right? Tone is not professional. That's correct, Rachel. She provides too much personal information. Yes. Um, Ariel, very, very true. Interview is about a balance of sharing your personal story and what's professional, like your skill sets, your professional self, right? So you got to find that balance. You can't be too personal, but you can't be too serious. So it's like a combination. Okay. Wants to rely on her phone for all the answers. Savannah, yes. So she wants Siri to do her interview. Can you imagine that? Dylan said she is attacking her interviewer. Probably better to keep them on good terms for future openings. Yes. So she was saying, "Oh, you're very hostile to me and all that." So that's not very good. She didn't willing to change her daily schedule to work. So one thing that is very, very important, and if you can do me a favor, take note of this. When you apply for a job, take a look at the job description and also the time. It would have the schedule of your work. So let's say it's like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday to Friday. Because when you're going into an interview, you want to know that you're applying. Because if you're if let's say it's a graveyard shift and you come in there thinking it's 9 to 5, then it's not a fit, right? So it didn't work out. Okay, so those are very good answers. I'm glad that you're participating. Really good group. Thank you. So now let's move forward to the part one of our webinar. So things we need to know about virtual interviews. So I think what's going to be very helpful first is Maria, can you talk a little bit about in-person interview? So we're going to talk about a little bit of in-person, phone, and then virtual interview. Let's see what makes them similar and different. Okay, let's start with an in-person interview. Who here has gone to an interview, whether it's an internship or a full-time position? Type yes in the chat box. So if you have been into an interview before, if you can type yes. Wow, this group has a lot of yeses. So I guess everyone has had a experience with interviews. Great. Okay, good. So you can relate. And then if you have not had any interview before, don't you worry. That's why we're doing this. Okay, so let's talk about in-person interview. An in-person interview is when the interviewee and the interviewer are in the same physical location. So think about this. In an in-person interview, you need to take that extra time to go to the location. So maybe if you are, I live in Southwest. So if my interview is in North Las Vegas, I cannot leave my home 20 minutes before. I'm going to leave most likely an hour and 15 minutes because number one, I have to dress up. I have to think of traffic. I-15 is always like there's cones, they're building it all the time, right? So, and then I'm very bad at directions. I don't know sometimes where to park. So I need to find the actual location. And what you don't want to do is to be late on your first interview, right? So take note of that. In an in person interview, it's easier to hear the questions. There's less to no technical difficulties because you are speaking with the interviewer or interviewers real time in the same location. It's also easier to make personal connection with the interviewers because they can see your facial expression, your gestures. So the nonverbal cues are very noticeable. So just it's easy. Usually the nonverbal is good for you unless the nonverbal. So let me show you a very bad nonverbal cue. So if you are here and then you're like this in the interview, that's not good, right? So you got to think about your gestures and see what kind of brand, personal brand are you showing during that interview. Okay, so that's the in-person interview. Let's go to the phone interview. In a phone interview, the interviewer talks to the interviewee via a conference line or even a mobile phone. The good news, no extra time needed to go to the location, so there's no traffic problems. But a mistake of a lot of interviewees, and trust me, last week I interviewed like about 14 people. Out of the 14, three-fourths of those 14 were late. Okay. You know why? They didn't charge their phone. They had technical difficulties. There were incoming calls coming. So these things that I wrote down, these are real deal. You know, this has happened before in interviews. Some of them, actually, most of them had problems hearing the questions because their audio wasn't working. Um, and it's also sometimes harder to make that personal connections with the interviewer because we don't see you. So I have a very important tip to everyone. Okay, take note of this. Non-verbal cues are not as noticeable in a phone interview. Only the voice. Again, only the voice. So you are already at a disadvantage if you are in a phone interview because they don't see you. They don't see if you're a cheerful person or anything like that. They depend on your voice. So you got if it's in a phone interview, you got to practice your voice. So if they ask you, tell us more about yourself. If I say, hi, I'm Maria. I am a third year student at UNLV College of Engineering. If that's my voice, is that good? Do you think that's a good way to introduce myself? What if I say exactly the same thing, but my voice different? Hi, my name is Maria Ubaldo. I'm a third year student at UNLV's College of Engineering. Very excited to be here today. You see the difference? You see the difference in that? And if you don't see me, you can see my voice. And that's very important. Okay. Also, it's not required to dress up in a phone interview. But again, tip number 2, please dress up. Trust me on this. When you dress up, it gives you a little bit of that confidence on a psychological level. So you don't need to dress up because they're not going to see you, but I would suggest to do so that psychologically you're more prepared for the interview. Okay? Now let's go to a virtual interview. The interviewer talks to the interviewee via a video conference software. And I'm going to give you some examples of that in a bit. Again, there's no extra time to go to the location, but please, please, please think about this. The device must be adequately charged. Right now, I have my charger in the outlet. You know why? Because I'm not sure if um, this software is going to eat up all my battery. So I can't have this webinar stop at the middle because I didn't charge my laptop. Okay, so think about those things because that has happened. That where is the interviewee? The phone died. Then we can't interview you anymore. Right. And then another thing, internet connection. If you think that your internet connection isn't that good, would you consider going to a place where the internet connection is better? So that is something to think about. And then incoming device notifications. Earlier, you may have noticed me that I was like closing some of my apps. You know why? Because I'm still working. We work from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm going to get a lot of emails, a lot of messages through Teams, like an IM from my colleagues. Okay. Even if I said like, oh, I'm in an interview, they might be sending me stuff. You're gonna hear that in the interview. So what I did is I closed them. So think about those things. So imagine if you have your Instagram open and then the notifications like cling, 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 cling. Do you think that would be good during your interview? Not really, right? Okay. So it may be difficult to hear the question. So another tip, okay, another tip. If you have a headphone, earphone, doesn't matter if it's cord, it has a cord, or if you want to use Bluetooth, please have that on the side. Even if you don't like using it, just have it on the side. Because to give you an example, I had a interviewee who said that he can't hear us. Okay, we can hear him, but he said he can't hear us. And I asked him, see if you have your iPhone. Yes, okay, get your corded earphone. That's the only way that he was able to hear us. So I learned my lesson, and before every virtual interview, I ask the interviewees if you can bring with you a headphone or earphone, even if it's a Bluetooth, just so you can hear us better. Trust me, if you don't hear the questions well, how are you able to give good answers? Right? Nonverbal cues are less noticeable than in person, but it's still noticeable when, again, if I do this, you think I'm respecting you as the, presenter today. No, right? So again, think about that. You still need to dress up. Treat a virtual interview as though it's an in-person interview. They see you, so they see if you didn't dress up. Okay, dressing up means it's appropriate, it's professional attire, appropriate for the company that you're applying for. Okay? And background is just as important as your attire. You know what? I got this from Amazon. Could have, I think maybe $75 or something. I used this when I didn't clean my house or something. So please think about your background. And I'm going to talk about background later, all the more. But I just want to give you a heads up in a virtual interview. Think about the background as well. You got to be professional. Okay. Okay. What are the common platforms used in virtual interviews? Okay. I would need your help on the chat box. Type the name of the software that you are most familiar with, or the platform you're most familiar with amongst these ones: Zoom, GoToMeeting, Skype, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, and Cisco WebEx. Okay, it's a combination actually. I thought it was just gonna be Zoom, but I guess a lot of WebEx. Oh, Philip knows a lot. Zoom, Skype, WebEx. Okay, good. MS Teams. Okay, good. So it seems like most of you are familiar with the platforms. If you're not familiar with any of these, note that the most free ones is like Skype, Zoom, and Google Meet is the most popular when it comes to the free functionalities. Sign up, create an account, practice with your friends, practice with people in your family. If you don't practice, if it's your first time using the platform, when they interview you, you may find yourself not knowing what to do, how to mute yourself, how to unmute yourself, how to turn on the camera. Practice makes perfect. So if you feel like you're not comfortable, be comfortable by practicing. Okay? Okay, next. What are the 5 things to prepare before your virtual interview? Okay, what are the 5 things that you need to prepare for before your virtual interview? So, if you want to jot this down or take a picture of this screen, you can, so that it's saved in your photos or your file. It would help you before an interview. And you might be thinking, it's only 5, Maria? Actually, no. Harvard Business School online is my resource for this. If you click here, and this PowerPoint presentation, I'm sure would be available through your career services department. So you can get a copy of this. The reference has like about 8 things that you need to use to prepare. But these 5 are the ones that I really need you guys to focus on. Okay. And so number 1 is to test your technology. Number 2, to set the scene and minimize distractions. Number 3, sit down prepared. Number 4, to dress the part. And number 5, to monitor your body language and make a connection. Let's go over these things right now. Test your technology. 3 main things. The internet. If it's a virtual interview, if your internet is not working, you can't do the interview. So test your internet connection. Okay. Web camera. If your webcam is not working, they can't see you. Some interviewers may dock points if they can't see you. They may continue with the interview, but they in the back of their mind, it's like this person didn't even prepare. Like we can't see him or her or they. So please take note, web camera. Okay, very important. And maybe something is impeding the camera. Make sure you clean that lens. Okay. Microphone, audio device. Earlier, I told you if you can have a headphone, earphone, very important. Test your microphone as well. Sometimes, like earlier, just so you know, Marian and I, it took 45 minutes for both of us to figure out how to share the video with audio because it wasn't working. If we did not do this, we would be late for this webinar. So practice is very important. Test your technology. Good. Second, set the scene and minimize distractions. Number 1, determine the interview location. Are you going to do the interview right by your backyard? Inside your room? In the kitchen? Where are you going to do this? So very important, the interview location should should help you with your personal brand. And I'm going to be very, very honest. The personal brand is very important in an interview. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm really a good employee. I'm going to, I have all these education and skill sets. Remember, most of us don't know you. Maybe it's our first time seeing you. So in your head, you're great, but I don't know you're great. So you need that personal brand. And it starts with even your interview location. So maybe you're interviewing in the kitchen and then somebody is cooking eggs and I can hear it, as an interviewer, it's like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm not thinking about you. So it's like the personal brand is being affected. Okay, prepare your background. Just like I said, see, this one I bought from Amazon. This is very handy when I need to hide something or the background is not appropriate for my presentation. So I have something like this. Okay. Eliminate possible noise. So to give you an example, I have dogs. Okay. Whenever I have an important presentation, I would have my mom take the dogs because I know one of my dogs is going to bark when FedEx comes in and drops off a package, even to my neighbor, which is every day the neighbor gets something. So the dogs will do this. So imagine if you're interviewing and your dogs start barking, right? That's a possible, we love our dogs or pets, but if they bark, it affects your interview. However, there are things you cannot control. I'm talking about the things that you can control. So jot down those things that you can control because I did a presentation for Nevada State College, this exact presentation, and somebody was pressing the doorbell right when I was talking about distraction and possible noise. Can you imagine? And that I can't control because I didn't know somebody is out there pressing the doorbell. So that I can't control. But the things that you can control, you got to take note of those and manage those very well. Again, set the scene and minimize distractions. Number 3, sit down prepared. Be focused, stop clicking. What does that mean? A lot of times when you think about virtual interviews, you're thinking, I'm virtual anyway, so I can have my laptop here. I could be, just like earlier, the lady, the interviewee on my phone, I'm going to search for the answer and all that. Please don't do that. Like, practice, prepare, know your resume. I also suggest print your resume if you're not into printing things, you can maybe have a tablet here and then you can look at your resume. You got to just be prepared. When I say preparation, it doesn't mean that you're going to memorize verbatim. To give you an example, if I was to give this presentation and I am just reading, it will sound like this. Sit down prepared, be focused, stop clicking, print your resume, practice your answers, but don't memorize verbatim. It's not personal, it's like lazy. I sounded lazy because it feels like I didn't even prepare for this presentation. So you don't want to sound like a robot. So if you've been into an interview before and you catch yourself sounding like a robot, it's because you memorized the whole sentence. So let's say a popular question is, tell us about yourself. And here you are, wrote a bio of you, memorized the bio, and then sounded like a robot sharing it. You know what happens? The connection between you and the interviewers, it's gone because you memorize. So my tip for you is instead of memorizing verbatim all, you want to memorize keywords. So maybe highlight certain words, right? So for example, if the question is, why should we hire you for this position? Maybe you want to say, I'm a team player. I am organized, all that. So instead of creating a paragraph, you want to just memorize team player, organized, detail oriented, creative, problem solver. You just memorize the phrases or the words that are important, and then you allow yourself to expound on those afterwards. Okay? So that's what I call preparing, but not over preparing to the point that you sound like a robot. Sit down prepared. Number 4, dress the part as you would an in-person interview. Earlier, I talked about professional attire. It's a personal benefit. Today, I put a little makeup on. I even sprayed a little perfume on because that makes me feel confident. If I was wearing my pajamas and doing this, maybe pajamas here and then here looks professional, I wouldn't feel right. So it's a personal preference for me to dress the part. I suggest trying it. So if you're the type that, oh, it's just a virtual interview, I don't really need to dress the part, try dressing the part. Your psychologically, your confidence would be higher. So if unless you're applying for a job in a very unique company, maybe that's not the case for them. But for me, I'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. Okay, remember that. You'd rather be overdressed than underdressed. Number 5, okay, this is very important. Monitor your body language and make a connection. Let me tell you this, you may have the best resume and, oh, I got this interview. And then you're wondering, I did the interview, but I didn't get the job. What might be lacking? And you know what's usually lacking is the making a connection part. Okay? Sit up straight, smile, and keep the camera at eye level. So if the camera, so let's say I'm like this, then, it doesn't look good or it's too high. So you want it in an eye level. Okay? And then also stand out, share a personal story. So for example, if you're asked a question about tell us about your greatest strength. You always hear this question, right, in interviews. And perhaps your answer is you're a team player. If you just say, oh, you know what? I'm perfect for this job because I'm a team player. And that's it. You stop right there. Most likely, somebody else will say exactly the same thing as you. So you have the greatest resume, greatest experience, education, but you didn't expound with a personal story. So if I were you, I would say I'm a team player. To give you an example, in school, we have a school project wherein one of my classmates was out sick. So what I did is I took notes for her, explained it to the whole group. I took on the lead role, and that in our next meeting, she took on more role, like extra tasks for us because she felt bad that she was sick, but because she was up to speed, she worked harder. We got an A in the class, and we became best friends since that day. That day that I helped her. What happened in there? What happened in there is, as an interviewer, I got a touch of your your caring personality, that personality being a team player, more than just speaking the words. Because everybody can say I'm a team player, but you're not giving me an example. When you give me a sample of personal story, I want to listen to that. People want to listen to a story. Okay. And now I see your human side. I see that this is really Maria when she is at work or in school. So to stand out, share a personal story. But what I'm going to ask you is not share a novel, a personal story that's just brief. Because if you share a novel, if you only have 30 minutes for that interview and you used 15 minutes for one story, then you missed on sharing other stories or other answers because you ate up the whole time. Okay? It's all about balance. Okay. So I'm going to give you 1 minute break so that you can rest your minds because I know we talked a lot. And then we'll be reading through the chat. And then later we're going to be answering your questions. Okay. So again, we'll have 1 minute. It's 4:38. We'll be back at 4:39. Okay. So it's 4:39. We're back. Moving on. And we're halfway done, everyone. So I think you're waiting for this. This is a really amazing part of our webinar today. What are the common interview questions and ideal answers? And if you want more examples, you can click here when you get a copy of the PowerPoint. And Indeed has created a number of common interview questions and ideal answers. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes. Okay. It's up to you if you want to jot down your answers or just, remember your answers. So these are the three questions. So if you were being interviewed for a business systems or business analyst position, for example, so something in business, think about what your answer would be for these three questions. And then I'm going to give the ideal statement later, ideal answers, and you want to compare your answers and see if you're already giving good answers in interviews. Okay. So the first question is, why did you choose to interview with this company and for this position? Question number two, what do you expect to gain from this internship and what are your work expectations? Number three, what are your plans after completing this internship and graduating from school? So, again, you'll have 2 minutes to think about your answers to these three questions. You can write it down, you can just remember the answers, and we're going to compare your answers to the ideal ones. 4:41, we should be back at 4:43 and discuss that, okay? And to give you an idea, these three questions are usually the questions we ask in our um, internship interviews. So you'd see this a lot. If you're going to apply at our company, these are the questions that we ask. You have about 1 minute. And yes, Priscilla said if you would like to share your answer, if you're shy, totally okay. If you want to share your answer to one of these questions, just put the number so we know what the answer is for, okay? Okay, so it's 4:43. Let's take a look at the ideal answers for question number 1. Why did you choose to interview with this company and for this position? Before we go and read the sample answer, I'm going to give you a tip too. Okay. And please share with your friends. Did you know that we ask certain questions for a purpose? There's usually a motivation for us to ask a question. To give you an example, for the question, why did you choose to interview with this company and for this position? You know why we ask this question? We want to figure out what motivates, let's say, Maria to interview for our company. What does Maria want to learn as an intern? Any growth potential in Maria? That's why we ask that question. So our answer needs to address all of those three, right? So let me read the answer. I find that your company is innovative and values continuous learning. And my goal is to work in a forward thinking company. Companies that consistently innovate often lead in their industries and constantly grow. Because I value continuous learning and I want to grow as a prolific business leader with an innovator, I believe your company in this position can help me achieve this. See, it's not very long, but the motivation is there. What is my motivation? What do I plan to learn as an intern is there? My growth potential, right? I want to grow as a prolific business leader with an innovator. So when you're answering a question, don't answer for the sake of answering. Okay? Answer with a purpose. And your purpose is to hit all those areas like what is my motivation? What do I need to learn as an intern and my growth potential? Okay? So that's for question 1. Question number 2. What do you expect to gain from this internship and what are your work expectations? Why do we ask this question? First, we want to see and hear about realistic goals from you. We want to hear about what goals do you expect to achieve when you work with us, and whether are your goals going to align with the tasks you're expected to accomplish. So let's say is your goal to be um, to learn, let's say, coding when you are in the customer service area. That doesn't work, right? So this is a sample answer. Again, feel free to take a picture if you'd like or write this down. My expectations involve being able to learn how to identify business problems, how to choose strategies to address these issues, and how to plan and execute the tactics needed to achieve these goals. By learning this, I can gain real world experience of what it takes to drive business operations forward. Again, simple, straight to the point. And if you want to be a little bit more personal, you can add a story there, short story there, personal story. I just want to be able to show you that you need to at least have this answer to hit those areas of showing what your goals are. And if the goals that you have when you become an intern will actually match the job that you're expected to accomplish at work. So it's very important. If I were you when you're applying for a job, print or save, like copy paste or take a picture of the job description. Don't go to an interview without knowing the job description. You can't expect yourself to know your goals and how it will align to the tasks if you don't know what the tasks are going to be. Okay? Okay, hope that was helpful. Number 3, what are your plans after completing this internship and graduating from school? Why do we ask this question? We want to see your potential for continued work at our company. We want to know, are you going to apply any of the skills you've learned from your school to us and from us to the real world? Okay, where and how skills will be applied. So, a sample answer would be after this internship, I plan to complete my final semester in college and apply leadership, project management, communication, and technical skills that I'll gain in my academic, volunteer, and extracurricular activities. My plans after graduation include pursuing a career as a business analyst for your company. Okay, the last part is very important. Why do you think it's important? Because remember this part that says potential for continued work at the company? Okay. So that part alone, we want to know, does this prospective intern, is there like a plan for this intern to even work for us after the internship? So you already said that if you answer this, I want to be a business analyst for your company, you know how happy we're going to be if we heard that from you because you know exactly even the position name. Okay. Meaning to say you did your research and you know what you want. Okay. So I hope these are all helpful. If if you compared your answers to these ones and they didn't match, make sure you've taken a picture of this or get a copy of this PowerPoint and practice making sure that when you're answering a question, you're answering it with a purpose in mind, thinking, what is the motivation behind this particular question that will guide your answer? Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Okay. So before we get to part two, I wanted to hear some feedback from everyone. Were those information like the sample questions, were those helpful for you? Say yes, no, not applicable. Hey, Angel said yes. Hey. Okay, very much. That's good. Thanks. Okay. So and I know it's only 3. I know you want to see more, right? So if you want to see more, when you click that link, there's more questions and answers there. So make sure you save that link and then share it with your friends who may have not been able to attend this webinar so that they can have it too to prepare for their future interview. Okay? Okay, part 2. Part 2 is about LVVWD. So who here knows what LVVWD stands for? Type what that means if you know. What is LVVWD? What does that stand for? Oh, good job. They know. They know us. Good job. Okay, so you know who we are. Las Vegas Valley Water District. Yes. So without further ado, I'm going to give you an introduction of who we are.
I rely on water every day, and I don't want to have to worry about it.
It's an essential part of nearly everything we do at ARIA.
My job depends on it. Lives depend on it.
We're all connected through water, and you're invested in one of the most advanced water systems in the country, meeting demands 24 hours a day. Together, we're ensuring a safe and reliable water system for our future.
So if you're wondering, okay, so you give us water. So that's a simpler way of looking at that. If you want a professional way of describing who we are a non-profit utility organization that provide water to the community. Just to give you a little trivia, in 1954, we started distributing water to only 45,000 residents in the valley. 60 years. Oh, so fast forward 60 years. You know how many we serve? We now serve and disseminate water to about 1.5 million people here in our valley. And that's why I'm very passionate about where I work. And I hope that one day, maybe if you work for us or with us, with us, or work for another company, you'll feel the same passion as I do with the organization I work for. Okay? Next video. The next video,
I rely on water every day.
The next video is going to talk about our mission, vision, and values. Okay. Okay, so our tagline is "Get your hands wet," and if you're wondering, so what's your mission then? So our mission is to provide world-class service in a sustainable, adaptive, responsible manner to our customers through reliable and cost-effective systems. So our goal is not to raise prices. We want it to be cost-effective. We want to be sustainable. We want to make sure that because right now we have water, right? Sustainability is very important because we want the future generations to have water too. And that's why we employ a lot of amazing talents at the water district to make that happen. Okay. And okay, if you're planning to apply to the water district, this is another tip for me. Okay. Be ready. If you know our mission, vision, and values, it's going to really help you. So if you want to jot this down, very, very important. So, what are our values? Well, we care. You noticed earlier some words and phrases, right? So, this might help you. So, think about rises, like rising sun. So, R stands for respect for people. I stands for integrity. Okay. S stands for service. E stands for excellence. And S stands for sustainability. When we ask a question about, so what do you know about the water district? So imagine if you just start saying, oh, your mission vision is this, blah, 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 and your values is rises, respect for people, integrity, service, excellence, and sustainability. And then you start sharing why that is important for you, you'll have a better shot. Okay, because that sets you apart. You know what that means? You took the time to learn about the organization. It's not just for us. So if you are not interested in applying for an internship with us or a full-time job with us, totally fine. You can apply somewhere else. A perfect tip for you is don't apply to a job or don't go to an interview for a job you didn't even research about. Most companies already have a website that you can take a look at their mission vision, their value system, their benefits package, and all that. So when you do your research, it tells interviewers like me that you're the type that practices, somebody that is proactive, a problem solver, somebody that takes initiative and actually cares about the job because you researched. And again, if you're applying to apply with us, try that. Say rises. When I applied for my current position here, I actually talked to them about the mission, vision, and values, and I was told that I was the only one who knew it. So, and they didn't ask even the question; they just tell us about what you know about the district, and then I shared, and that made me go up a little bit amongst all my competitors in the interview. Okay, so I hope you like that one. Okay, so this one. So if you're interested in an internship with us, please know that we value our interns. And Dave Rexing is one of the ones that has, Dave Rexing, just so you know, he has worked for the water district for 45 years. He's going to retire next year, but he's been working with us for 45 years. He's worked with a lot of interns. So I hope you appreciate this video. It's for the interns.
I'm a chemist by training, and I've been with the organization for over 40 years. I started the compliance laboratory and then moved to research and development in the year 2000. What I find most interesting about the young professionals is just the enthusiasm that they bring to the job. New ideas, fresh ideas, that is almost contagious, I find, and it makes life so interesting. When young people have new ideas and they interact with an older person like myself, who brings some experience and structure to it, you can get two ideas coming together to make a fantastic idea. That is what happens in synergy when you bring these two groups together. In my group, not only do we have postdoctoral researchers, we have a lot of interns that come into our group. So they come and go all the time. They're constantly bringing in fresh ideas. What I find interesting about the young professionals and what I think is most beneficial to the organization is when they bring those fresh ideas, that really is the origin of innovation. And any organization has to have innovation to succeed and move ahead and improve.
So if you are thinking, how important internship is, it's not just as important for the interns that you're coming here. You know that we value our interns because of your fresh ideas, and perspective that would be different from our generation or the other generation. So please know that you're you're not doing us just a favor, or we is a mutual benefit. So meaning to say, we value your input, and I'm sure that you would value our expertise that we can share with you, the structure and experience. And in turn, you'll be giving us fresh perspective on problems that perhaps currently we don't have a solution for. For technology, for example, I rely a lot with our interns in terms of technology, that I think I'm pretty good with technology until I don't know how to use something. Like, to give you an example, when I was doing the student ambassador program at another company, I relied on my student ambassadors to take care of the social media content calendar, when to put the schedule, when to send the social media posts. I depended on them because I think they're cooler. They know exactly what their classmates would need to hear about, right? Or their peers would need to hear about. So please know, as an intern, you're coming here and we respect your ideas, and I hope that you consider us, the Las Vegas Valley Water District, if you're looking for an internship, and I hope that we will open positions soon. Okay, so if you're wondering, Maria, so I'm very excited, I'm pumped now, where do I apply? So here, so if you go to this link, take a picture, or again, you can have a copy of this PowerPoint. Go to lvwaterjobs.com, or you can go to linkedin.com/company/LVVWD. So this is our LinkedIn page. If you don't have a LinkedIn page by now, please make one. This is where you're going to find a lot of jobs, not just with us. So make sure you have a LinkedIn account. So if you already have a Snapchat, Instagram, please have LinkedIn too for your professional endeavors. Okay. So again, these two, currently, you're only going to see one, which is the electrical supervisor. About 2 weeks ago, we had like 8 positions. So if you're wondering, so how do I know when your new positions come up? So try to check our website once a week. So that's what I did when I applied for the water district, until I found one that I know I can really do and I'm passionate about, which is recruitment. Uh, the best days would be Mondays and Tuesdays. Those are really the best days that you can take a look at our jobs, because usually we post Monday, Tuesday. We may post Wednesday, Thursday, but most of them Monday, Tuesday. And correct me if I'm wrong, Priscilla, because I know you see. Priscilla is the one who see a lot of the posts and do paper postings. Okay, and if you're wondering, Maria, do you ever work with UNLV to tell us if you have an internship or even a full time position? Yes. So we go to UNLV's handshake account, and we post the job in there. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. So part 3 would be Q&A, and we don't have a lot of time. So let me scroll up right here and see if we have any questions that we didn't answer yet. Let's see here. Which
I
we have
think we're caught
internship.
up on the questions. I think.
Yeah,
Marian.
did we? So I think we did. We didn't
Marian just
answer.
posted a question.
Oh, okay. Let's see. What can students do now in an ideal time to stay connected to employers? Oh, this is a very good question. You already did step number 1. What it is to attend a webinar like this. Then you would learn about the employer. And then now I see your names. So maybe if I come across your application, I remember Angel saying that this, and that. Oh, I remember Stanley, So this is one of the steps that you can do. If you know that your career services department is hosting a lot of these webinars and the presenters are employers, attend. You're putting again, it's about personal brand. You're putting your name out there, and then also you're engaging with us, and also you're learning from us. And know that our organization may be different from another organization. So even though you got a lot out of this webinar, please attend the other events or webinars hosted by the Career Services Department, because you will get a different perspective from a different company. Maybe Tesla does something with UNLV, okay? They are a very different company from us. leaders of innovation, for example. So if you're an innovator, that's a perfect company for you to learn from. So that's a very good question. Does LVVWD allow job shadowing? We currently do not have a job shadowing program, but we before we were planning to have like field trips wherein you can kind of see uh, how we do things. So unfortunately, with COVID, we're not doing any of our plans. But if you're wondering, so how can we even get a taste of like working there if I don't get hired, right? As an intern. So there is something called in Springs Preserve. So if anybody here has heard of Springs Preserved, it's you're gonna wonder who is LVVWD, Springs Preserve, and SNWA. So Springs Preserve is part of our company. So it's three companies, one team. It's part of our team. We hire all people in SNWA and Springs Preserve. Okay. So we have a volunteer program at the Springs Preserve. Sign up for that. I'm not sure if they're doing it right now because of COVID, but we do that in regular times. If you're interested, shoot me an email. I'm going to share our email later. And then we can always check with the Springs Reserve volunteer team if they are taking any volunteers right now. Priscilla, do you know if we are taking volunteers?
At this time, we are not taking
Okay,
any
okay.
volunteers.
So, but if when we start doing that again, a lot of our volunteers became interns because now they know the ins and outs of how we do things. They met people, they network. So for us, even though we're not doing job shadowing at the moment, um, in the future when things are hopefully back to normal or close to normal, please see if you can volunteer. Volunteer means it doesn't mean that, oh, I'm going to volunteer for a whole year. Even if maybe you volunteer once a week or once every month, you can work with our volunteer team, and that's going to be very helpful for you. And you can add that to your resume, even though it's not a job. You can add that in your resume. Okay. I volunteered at Springs during high school. Didn't know you guys were linked. Yeah. So we work with a lot of high schools, Stanley. High schools, even CSN, Community College of Southern Nevada or College of Southern Nevada. We have partnerships with different educational institutions and nonprofit organizations. So when you do that, um, you get introduced to how we do things. So yes, and you don't have to stop there, Stanley. When we have that back, I hope that you can volunteer again. Okay. What engineering majors do you typically hire the most? Civil engineering major, so civil engineer, mechanical, electrical, computer. So those are the main ones that we have. Did I miss anything, Priscilla? I think those are the main ones that we have, right?
Yes,
So
those are
yeah,
the main ones.
okay, those are the main ones. And Alfredo, yes, you can ask a question verbally. I'm going to mute myself now so that I can hear you.
Oh, hey, so thanks, Maria. So I wanted to ask a question because I had an interview recently and I didn't realize my glasses were doing this. So based off your comments you had on virtual interviews, I tried talking this way. I raised my laptop and I was thinking about buying another camera. I went on YouTube. I looked up lighting options and all the different ways you can do lighting. So I wanted to get your take instead of talking like this. So thanks.
Maria, you're muted. So just unmute.
I was talking without the mic. Okay. Have you considered, Alfredo, using contacts for an interview just for special occasions?
Yes, I have. It's just it's like the glasses thing, it's that perception of, oh, he must look smart. So
Oh, but trust me, it might be best. Like this is just coming from an interviewer. Instead of thinking of, like the position, you might as well just wear contacts. And at the end of the day, it's not that's most important. You're gonna blow them away if you're good with your answers, right? So some people don't wear glasses and they blow the interviewers away. So maybe focus more on the answers. So I really suggest instead of like thinking about like a different camera, most likely there is. I can ask some of our engineering team if that wear glasses about like maybe there's a special glasses that you can use, but I really think right now my answer is just use contacts for special occasions like this if you're able to.
Great.
Okay, so I hope
And
that was helpful.
yes, thank you. And the non-glare glasses, I did have some, but they broke. So I have the glare ones now. But
Oh
I'll keep that in
yeah.
mind.
Okay, so I hope that's helpful. And then I see some questions. Um, if my camera on my laptop is blurry, should I consider buying another camera or would that be fine? Sammy, let me tell you, if it's blurry on your side, it might be blurry with our side too. Do you really want to add stress to both you and the interviewers by having a blurry camera? So maybe first, before buying anything, find out why it's blurry. Is it blurry because you just need to clean it, or is it blurry because of something else? If it's blurry because of something else, and it might be best to invest on a cam, then you can use a external one that you can put here on your laptop, or maybe you have another device. So if your laptop is blurry, do you have a desktop that you can use? Do you have a mobile device that you can just maybe a tablet? So maybe an alternative equipment or device that you can use instead of buying. So what I'm saying is that the last resort will be to buy, because you want to, unless you know that that investment of a web camera is you're going to be using that for school, for other things, then might be a good reason to buy. But if this is the only one, and you can use another device like a desktop or a tablet, try using those first before buying anything. Do that as a last resort. Okay. Yes, Stanley, you can. Let me mute myself.
This I also asked this question privately to Marin Mason, but since I just literally I just found out that you guys are connected to Springs Reserve, would it be good to include my volunteering experiences during high school, even though that's been about 5 to 6 years ago, to my resume? Would that be a good option or not?
Question for you. What are your do you have any recent volunteer experience than that, or those are the only ones?
Those were probably the only ones.
Okay. If you're applying for us, yes. You know why? Interviewers, when they find connection, that really I had a job that I applied for and I knew I wasn't the best candidate. Like somebody has like 10 years more experience than me. And when I asked my boss why she picked me, is because I went to this certain school and then she felt that bond. And then I also knew about a software that she uses and no one else uses, and she found that connection. So it's just one of those little things that you are trying to make a connection with us. So maybe if we're applying for another job that it's been a while, then it might not be a good idea. But if you're applying for a position at Springs Preserve us or SNWA, even if it's like 10 years ago, please put, because as an interviewer, I feel more connection with someone that that volunteered with us, even though it's been a long time ago. Based on experiences has happened. And if, let's say, for example, you really didn't have any other volunteer experience and you're applying for a nonprofit organization, still put it. But so it's really dependent on where you're applying. Okay. And one other thing, if you're the type of applicant who uses only one resume in your applications, stop that. You gotta customize your resume. It's for a different topic. So it might be if I get invited again, I'll work on a webinar on resume. But please note that your resume must be, you have a master resume, you customize it. So when you ask me a question about whether I should include that in my application in the water district, yes, because we're connected with that volunteerism. Maybe it's another company, maybe Tesla, and they didn't care. then remove that. Okay?
We are going to have to wrap up. We're at the 5:13 mark. Maria, this was fantastic. You're such an energetic, high enthusiasm presenter. I think everybody really, really enjoyed you. And I just want to make sure everyone knows Maria is hosting another webinar tomorrow on cover letters, yay or nay. So be sure and tune in for that tomorrow at 4:00. She's going to be exhausted after she does all these webinars for us, but we really love having her do these. And you mentioned the resume one. We may take you up on that either later this semester or even next spring if you're up for that. So
Yes, definitely.
great group. Really, I think you're absolutely right. That was a terrific group of students. They were really engaged. Thanks for the questions. Really thoughtful questions, guys. And that makes for a wonderful presentation. So with that, I'm going to thank Maria and the Las Vegas Valley Water District. Thank you, UNLV students. Hope we see you tomorrow at 4:00 for cover letters.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody.
Take care.